Welcome to episode 103 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Laws Guy. It's February 11, 1981. We're in Tokyo, under floodlights, watching two continental champions play for a title football had struggled to make credible for 2 decades, World Club champion. Officially, this is the 1980 Intercontinental Cup, but it has a new name, a new format, and a new sponsor. This is the first Toyot Cup, one match, neutral ground, a world final that's trying to work. The scoreline is simple. Nacional 1, Nottingham Forest 0. But the reason this night matters is not just the goal, it's the fact that the match happens at all. But how did we get here? The Intercontinental Cup begins in 1960. Europe's champions versus South America's champions, usually home and away. In theory, it's football's purest showdown, champion versus champion, continent versus continent. In reality, it becomes a collision of incentives. In South America, it's treated like a war for prestige. In Europe, it often lands in the calendar like an awkward extra. Long travel, insurance headaches, and the fear of coming back with bruises, or worse. And too often, the matches don't just feel intense, they turn ugly. We covered the competition at its worst in episode 4, the 1967 Battle of Montevideo, Racing Club versus Celtic. That match becomes part of the Intercontinental Cup's identity, a warning label. And once a competition carries a warning label, the next problem is absence, because European champions start refusing to play. Some years, runners-up replace them. In 1974, Bayern München decline and Atletico Madrid go in. In 77, Liverpool decline, and Boca Juniors face Borussia Mönchengladbach. And in 79, Nottingham Forest decline, and Malmö stand in. The concept survives, but it limps. You can't sell world champion if the champions won't show up. That's the crisis Toyota steps into. The fix is simple. Remove the two-legged grudge match, remove the travel war, remove the flashpoints. One game, neutral venue, real guarantee money. That's Tokyo. The Intercontinental Cup doesn't disappear, it migrates and rebrands. Nacional arrive as the 1980 Copa Libertadores winners. In the final, they draw 0-0 away at Internacional in Porto Alegre, then win 1-0 at the Estadio Centenario in Montevideo. The scorer is Waldemar Victorino, a ruthless number 9 who doesn't need many chances. Their coach is Juan Martín Mugica, a former Uruguay defender, building a side that is disciplined, hard, and clinical. And Nacional aren't strangers to this idea of a world final. They've done it once before. 1971, they win the Intercontinental Cup. In a year when Ajax, the European champions, refused to play. Nacional lift the trophy anyway, against Panathinaikos, and Uruguay adds another line to its outsized football legend. Nottingham Forest arrive as the 1979-80 European Cup winners. They're one of football's great improbabilities. Promoted in 77, champions of England in 78, champions of Europe in 79, and again in 80. Brian Clough is the headline, Peter Taylor is the eye. Forest qualified for Tokyo by beating Hamburg 1-0 in the European Cup final in Madrid, thanks to a John Robertson goal. And the squad is stacked with the era's names. Peter Shilton in goal, Viv Anderson on the right, Martin O'Neill in midfield, John Robertson on the left, and Trevor Francis up front. The year prior, Forest declined to play the Intercontinental Cup. But now, the Tokyo format gives Europe a reason to show up, gives Forest a shot at becoming the kind of champion Clough loved most, the one everybody has to acknowledge. Which brings us to the match itself. Tokyo National Stadium, 62,000 in the stands. A world title that's trying to clean its own reputation, and the referee is Abraham Klein, one of the most respected in the game. The atmosphere is unusual, mostly a Japanese crowd, curious and attentive, watching a contest that doesn't carry local tribal hatred, but does carry global meaning. A European champion built on control and structure, a South American champion built on timing and ruthlessness. The game is tight and tense, a contest of patience. And then, 10 minutes in, Nacional do what Libertadores winners are built to do, turn one surge into one decisive blow. A move starts around halfway, a quick switch, a run down the right, and the ball is worked into space. Waldemar Victorino arrives before anyone can set. He strikes, and Shilton is beaten. And suddenly, the first Toyota Cup has its first defining image. Nacional celebrating, Forrest staring at the scoreboard, and Clough realizing he's now chasing a South American champion in a one-off final. Nacional 1, Forrest 0. If you're Forrest, it changes everything. Clough's side can control games, grind, squeeze, but chasing after conceding early is different. Forrest push, Robertson delivers, Francis looks for angles, and Wallace gambles on second balls, and O'Neill tries to drive play through the middle, but Nacional don't blink. They drop into shape, absorb and turn every forced attack into another minute burned. They commit the right fouls at the right times. They turn transitions into breathers. And in a neutral stadium, there's no automatic tilt toward the European champions, no home crowd surge, no familiar weather, no sense that the game must inevitably swing their way. Forced throw what they have. Nacional manage what they must. The equalizer never comes. And when the whistle goes, the Toyota Cup's first edition ends exactly how its organizers would have wanted. Not with chaos, but with a clean winner, a clean match, and a trophy lift that looks like the sport's future. But so what? This 1-0 is bigger than the two clubs. It's the moment the World Cup Club final becomes sustainable. The Toyota Cup becomes an annual appointment, a single match in Japan, staged and broadcast as club football's global final, and becomes a clear ancestor of the modern FIFA Club World Cup. Same ambition, better structure. FIFA later folds these Intercontinental Cup winners into the official history of world champions, and in 2017, it formally recognizes the winners as world champions at club level. Now to the aftermath. For Nacional, this is a peak, and not their last. In 1988, they win the Libertadores again, then win the Intercontinental Cup again, against PSV, on penalties, and add more international silver in the months that follow. But the wider trend is relentless. European money grows faster, talent moves earlier, and the gap widens. Nacional remain a giant at home, but the continental summit becomes harder to hold. For Nottingham Forest, this match sits right on the edge of their mythic era. They remain a strong English Cup side, but they never again touch the European Cup the way they did in 79 and 80. This Toyota Cup final is a clean snapshot, Forest at their most improbable, Nacional at their most continental, meeting on a new stage that football is about to make permanent. Sometimes a competition isn't limited by the sport, it's limited by logistics, incentives, and reputation. The Intercontinental Cup had the idea. Tokyo and Toyota give it the structure, and a 10th minute strike from Victorino gives it the first story of the new era. 3 things to take away from February 11, 1981. First, world champion is a story football has always wanted to tell, but structure decides whether the story is believable. Second, the Toyota Cup is a marker of the modern game arriving. Neutral venues, global TV, corporate sponsorship, and single showpiece final. And third, the world's best teams aren't always separated by talent. Sometimes they're separated by one moment and one perfectly managed 1-0. On this day in 1981, Nacional defeated Nottingham Forest 1-0 in Tokyo in the very first Toyota Cup, the night the troubled Intercontinental Cup found a new home, and the World Club final began to look like the future. That's all for episode 103 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Law Sky. If you enjoyed this story, follow the show, rate it, and share it with a football friend. Find 17 Law Sky on LinkedIn, and for story suggestions, corrections, or leads, email me at otd@17lawsky.com. Tomorrow, episode 104, February 12, 2007, Georg Buschner, the legendary East Germany coach in the 1970s. Auf Wiedersehen.